Today, we'll meet Jo. She runs her own paranormal events company, Ghost Hunt UK. She's going to share one particularly terrifying story today about her experiences that her and her team had with a black mirror.
Hi, I'm Jo and I live in Ramsgate in Kent. Paranormal has always been something that I absolutely love. So from a very young age, I always assumed or thought that I could see something, but always got told whilst growing up, silly, you're a child, you don't see things, that ghosts don't exist. So you always put that to the back of your mind. And that was till I was around about 8 years old, where I went to bed one night. I was at my nan and granddad's home. My granddad had recently passed. Woke up and there was my granddad at the end of the bed. Did I imagine him? That's the first thing as a child that you think. You go to your parents, granddad was at the end of my bed. Oh, don't sit, you're being silly. Ghosts don't exist. You're just having a nightmare. I know what I saw was real. I know what I felt was very much real. You'd think being at that age you would be so scared, but it was actually the most calming feeling I'd ever had, even at the age I was. From that moment, I've always been interested in paranormal. My nan and granddad's home was very much haunted, with a soldier that used to stand at the top of the stairs, a World War I soldier. It was an old farmhouse in Epping in Essex. My nan was quite open to talking about the paranormal, so at least growing up I did have that somebody there that was very much in tune with me and can talk about the paranormal. Some people do believe that certain people have the gift, as it were. I'm not one of them. I actually believe that every single person on this planet is sensitive and can tune in any way. I think we're all born with a different sense, or a sixth sense, so to speak, not just the five senses. And I think it's very much switched off as a child because you're told by society that spirits don't exist. So you can imagine with imaginary children coming into play when children are very young. Are they imaginary? Are they using their sixth sense because they're not being told to shut that off? It's an intriguing question that I absolutely love. And I think every single person can reopen that sixth sense at any time. It just takes a lot of grounding meditation and a little bit of help along the way. And I think everybody is in tune to it, whether they realise it or not. They don't always see what's going on around them. They don't pick up the cue signs, so to speak, that are there. It's just an amazing thing to do, just to open yourself to the possibility that something's there rather than nothing. The signs are around you. You just have to spot them. I think that's the hardest thing to do when you don't quite believe, is to open that mind up to the possibility. There's many people that can open up but choose not to open up because of the possibility of something happening to them where they don't feel that they can control that. And that's okay and that's understandable, but it's whatever the person feels comfortable with at the time and how far they actually want to go with it. That's the most important thing, is making sure you're safe and comfortable with what you're doing. I do think that some people are definitely more in tuned at a young age and hold that through their adulthood. I think that some people can definitely tune in, whether that's something within the brain, I'm not sure. It's a very interesting question of, is it in tune? Are they just naturally in tune? How do they do that without training? How do they actually think about these things and actually understand and know? Whether that shuts down, I'm not so sure. It's a very interesting question. I find that, people that claim to be or are mediums from a very young age and just go throughout their adulthood without any training, it does differ a question of, do our brains get wired somehow differently? That's the way I look at it anyway. I think sometimes we're in tune slightly different from young age, and that depends on our childhood. That goes back to, are we being told to develop it, or are we being told, ghosts don't exist? Ghost Hunt UK is a paranormal events company. Started about 11 years ago now. I started doing paranormal just as a friend came over and said, you know what, tonight, I know you're into this thing, you've spoken about paranormal, would you like to come on an investigation with me? Let's go have some fun. And that's how it started. Many people have been doing it a lot longer. However, 15 years ago, I went to a location, amazing, had such a good time, saw some amazing stuff. And it wasn't until now that I look back, or even at the beginning of Ghost Hunt UK, that I look back and I think, oh, actually, was I a bit misled there? And you start asking yourself questions. So I've been to a few paranormal events with different companies. I think it's important to do that because you've got to find the right company for you. Not every company is the right company, so it's preference to your choice. I have been on a few where I have seen some dark things and some outrageous things. So I went to one paranormal event and there was some table tipping going on. Now, people are not so sure, it's where your fingers go on the table and you call out and you ask for the table to move. So I put my hand up, I volunteered with another one of my friends, and there was another 2 people, and there was a gentleman that was running the event that said, right, everybody on. So we all jump on, rub our hands together, put the fingers on, and within 30 seconds we was running. And when I say running, I mean I was running up and down the floors, and I was like, how am I running? But this table was going up and down, and this gentleman that was running the event, his fingers were so raw red, and he actually was holding the table and he was running. And I looked down, and underneath the table were these wheels. He had designed the table so that he could physically push the table. Doing this 15 years, I have never seen a table move within 10 seconds of having my fingers on the table. It normally takes a while to get some energy up. So that set alarm bells off for me. He went down into a cellar and said he was headhunted by the Vatican and fought the devil. And then we went upstairs and we had a K2 in his hand with a little device underneath the K2. And I could see him clicking a button under the K2. Now the K2 registers electromagnetic fields that are around you. So if any spirits claim to be close, then the lights will lovely light up and they'll be brighter as you go. So he's holding this little device in his hand with all these people watching him. And I remember thinking, I'm not so sure about this because, and I asked, can I have the K2? I got told, no one's allowed to hold the K2. And then I decided to get my phone out and started to try and record little bits and pieces and take some photos. And he refused anybody to have any photos, videos. And I thought at that point, all these people in this circle have paid money to experience the paranormal in some way, shape or form, or do an investigation. And this is all false. And I wasn't comfortable sitting in a paranormal event with that going on. I walked away from that event and I thought, do you know what? This is why I do what I do now. Because I give people a true experience, whether a lot's going on or not. So it's not fake. This is why I set my paranormal company up, because I wanted to give people that platform where they have a little bit more freedom. The event's all about them for the night. It's controlled to a low number, so they're going to get the most out of their night. I wanted to make it affordable because not all venues you can go straight in. You have to be safe. You have to have the correct insurances in place for them, make sure they're well looked after. Paranormal's not just about going out there and with loads of fancy gadgets and seeing what we can find. It's about so much more than that. It's about finding out who that person is that you're trying to communicate with, what's happened there. Because you've got to remember the building itself is not always what's coming through on the night. It could be so much more than that from previous times gone. Don't always go to these big locations. Try and get these little locations because they're the ones that need the money and the restoration of the buildings more so than the expensive big English heritage. They've got that supply of money coming in. Go for the little venues. Support local. That's the best way to go. There's nothing more gratifying for me than seeing somebody that's never done paranormal before come in and get something for the first time. And the look on their faces of, oh my, what was that? I love that. I absolutely love that. That's nice. Ghost Hunt UK next are venturing further afield. We are actually going back to Scotland. We're doing the Scotland tour along with the vaults in the evening. We've got 2 trips next year to Ireland planned. I want to start actually going to something slightly different, so it's not just paranormal. We're going to workshops. We're going to start looking at Reiki healing with a workshop during the day, and then going to a show in the evening that's like a mediumship show, and then doing paranormal the next day after a day of shopping. So it's not overload, it's not overkill, it's relaxing at the same time. My story goes 4 years ago. So we're very lucky if you, throughout your paranormal experience, you see anything throughout your whole time. This is not the normal story of a ghost walking up a stairs. I was at Ruffin Control Towers in Bury St Edmunds in a RAF base. It housed a lot of the RAF during the war. We were in the Nissen hut, so very cold, damp, dreary night. We had 3 team members in the room, and we were conducting black mirror scrying. So black mirror scrying, for people that may not be aware, is you have your black mirror and the reflection, and you kind of use them as a portal. So you're asking spirits to come through the black mirror. They can change, adapt of a shape or a person or a shadow behind you, and it can change your face shape. So I was there with the guests, and I was guiding them through relaxation, trying to get them to look past the mirror, call out, see if they can get someone to come through. I had 3 guests, lovely and relaxed. The lights were dim, and they were just calling out, very comfortable. I asked one of my fellow team members to take photos without the flash on behind, because there was enough dimly lit light. Don't want to distract what the guests were doing. All 3 guests never done black mirror scrying before, so they were very excited. And one of the gentlemen said, "My face is changing." And I said, "Oh, that's interesting. What are you getting?" And the gentleman turned round to me and said, "Well, my eyes are going black, and I feel like I've got this really big nose." And I was like, "Oh, okay." Try and explain a little bit more, try and delve into that a little bit more, ask them to come forward a little bit more. So with that, my team member took a photo from behind, and there was 3 gasps. Everyone was like, "Oh!" And all of a sudden, you saw a full wolf in the black mirror at the same time the picture was taken. When we looked and analysed the photo, because we took about 3, at the same time we've got that wolf in that photo. And it's a human face that is looking in that black mirror. That doesn't end there. I went on my next investigation, very proud of this photo. Went on my next investigation, same black mirrors. We set them up in a place called Leeds Thackeray Museum, which is an old abandoned hospital. We went into there, set up the mirrors, conducted the same investigation, same thing. A lady sat there getting some lovely things through, and she went, "Oh, my eyes have gone dark." And I went, "Oh, that's interesting." She said, "My nose has gone funny." I was like, "Okay." And this is after 10 minutes. I said to my team member, out of curiosity, just take a photo. Took a photo, and there was that black wolf, the same black wolf with a different reflection, almost identical. It then happened in another 3 events, different locations and different events. To say we had to close that mirror down, and it hasn't come back since it's been closed properly down from protection right the way down, and it doesn't attend events anymore, is putting it mildly. So you have to make sure that you are protected and you're safe. But it's something slightly different to a ghost story, which I find fascinating. We're thinking that it's not a wolf. We're actually thinking it's a dog that was at RAF Ruffin, because there had been a black dog that goes around. Looks more wolf-like because I think how dominant it's coming through. I think it's a dog, and I think the dog attached itself to the mirror, and it's been following around ever since. Ruffin Control Towers is an amazing location. So what ties into the story quite nicely is the fact that the gentleman that actually upkeeps the building there has 2 dogs buried there under the tree right next to the RAF control tower, one of them being a black Labrador. So we believe, or what I hope has happened, is that he's come through because the gentleman there that night, the curator, he was talking about his beloved pet there that night, And it was the same night that the wolf or the dog came through. So we believe that he wanted to communicate with maybe the curator of the building that night, his owner. We always go and say hello to the 2 pets that are buried outside. And maybe he just didn't know how to get back to his owner, so he's followed us in the mirror. And maybe that's why he come through with gentlemen only, because he was very much a gentleman's dog. Could be that, and that could be the reason why it's RAF Ruffham. However, there is another tale that it could be. We caught a full apparition upstairs in the control tower. 2 guests just playing on their phones, got the full shadow going across. We also believe there was a little pet that went after the shadow. That could be a dog or something that's in that top of the control tower. When we investigate the control tower, we have been known to, I guess, have that brush against that legs, on the bottom half of the legs, that cold brush. There's no natural air coming through or cold blasts. It would have to come from something. We couldn't debunk it. Is it the dog that resides there? I'm unsure. Could be 2 reasons why specifically RAF Ruffham was the first location that it actually came through. Interesting theory though. I actually believe it's one of these famous black dogs that come through that attach, and there's a meaning behind it. Some people think they are for protection, and some people think that they actually come through from a nastier background, should we say. Myself, I wasn't there at all the different events that he appeared. We call him he. We call the black dog a he. I don't know why. We just do. So the black dog that appeared, or the wolf, whatever you want to call him, he was actually never there repeatedly with the same person. It was always different people, which makes this more fascinating for me, because he's not just with one person. We marked the mirror so we know which mirror it was, and he wasn't coming through every single time. But he seemed to like the males that come through. If there's a male sitting on the mirror, he seemed to come through more easily with the men. Whether he belonged to a gentleman years ago, or whether he is the famous black dog that's associated with paranormal, I don't know. That's a question I'm unsure of. It was seen by multiple people on an event. So, for example, you'd always have 2 team members in the room where they were conducting it, so they would see it. You'd also have the other guests rush up because of the photo, come behind the mirror, and they'd all want to see what's going on. So there was crowds of about 4 or 5 people all gathered round watching as the faces were changing on the mirror. We even took the mirror apart to think, okay, could it be that, a photo of an animal's in the back of it, or something? We tried to debunk everything we could, and there was just no rhyme or reason for it, because it was just a plain black mirror. There was nothing else to it. We thought, was there reflections? But why would you get a reflection 3 or 4 different events with different people? We tried a lady on it, didn't come through, but then the gentleman did. Yeah, and some gentlemen had the beards. The beards would disappear and the wolf would be there. I can't explain that. At the time that the Black Mirror scrying was going on, I can assure you that everybody in the room, I think, including myself and the team, that we've all got experience in this, we all felt very scared, actually. This was something new that we hadn't encountered before. How are we going to deal with this? What do we do to get past this? Was the questions that you ask yourself straight away. You're like, I've never dealt with something like this before. And naturally, I think when you see a dark shadow of a dog, you're expecting to see human, not animal. Very unexpected and very surprising. The mood kind of changed where everybody almost was like, I'm not touching that no more. I'm running out the door. The team members were like, I'm not liking that. That's the first time I've experienced that. So we had to be reassuring to our guests, whilst at the same time having our own feelings about what had happened. It was certainly something that we touched on through the night in a conversation that dominated most of the night's conversation, and it was all steered to these black mirrors and everybody wanting to try, and we were like, oh, don't know if that's a good idea. After a while, it became the norm because, oh, yeah, that's our Wolf. He's come through on several events. Do you want to see a picture and compare it to yours? And then we're comparing the pictures. That's quite nice to have it happen in real time, where the picture's taken and they get to look at it straight away with a picture that's been taken in the past by a guest. That to me is more concrete evidence because you can't tamper with any of that. And you can go, well, actually, let's have a look. That's amazing. Scary, but amazing. Do they want to be caught in that mirror? It is my first feeling, you know. I personally not quite sure I like the thought of something staying within that. That's unfair. I don't think anything needs to be kept like that. I think every sort of paranormal investigator has a certain duty or responsibility. The second thing is you don't know what you're dealing with. You can only assume or do a bit of guesswork on it. You don't know how far that's going to unlock and what it's capable of. So there's a safety element there as well. I made the decision after 5 or 6 events, that's enough. Let's close this down. Let's move whatever this is on for the safety of the guests and for whatever is in that mirror, because that needs to be released. Now, I had to take that home. That was in my bedroom. That is to stay in my wardrobe. All the equipment would come home and I'd be like, oh, don't come out of the mirror. So I used to sit there thinking it'd come out the mirror and come in like at night time and come grab me or something. I think partner put it under the bed one time. I'm like, no, please. No, it's not coming in. So people are going to think I'm crazy. So after paranormal events, all my equipment comes in the dry. It's not out in a shed. I do bring it in my home. I have it all I have a wardrobe that is just empty and it all goes in my bedroom and it all goes nice and stacked in my lovely double wardrobe. Sometimes I don't have quite enough space and the odd Ouija board table goes under my bed. But I do a little prayer before I bring them all in, just to make sure nothing's coming in my home with me, because I have one rule in my home: no Ouija boards in my home or no calling out. It's a safe place. We do protection on every one of our events. So at the start, we do protection after the spirit guides to keep us safe. And then before we leave, we do a nice closing. So they're all protected and grounded before they leave, which is so important.